Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. I hope you are doing very well, and today we are going to talk about a bit of front end. I have been front end developer for a very long time now, and I have been seeing a lot of technologies coming and going, right? But if you go back 15 years from now and ask someone like how to be a front end developer at that time, the simple answer would be you learn HTML, you learn CSS, and you learn JavaScript, probably jQuery, and then you can develop front end website. You are a front end developer and you can get a job as a front end developer as well. But I feel now the time has changed, and now with a lot of technology comes a lot of confusion. If you ask someone now like how to be a front end developer, the course would be same, I guess. Like someone will tell like learn HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, but there are a lot of things that have been came around, and it just confuses like what should you learn and what should you not, right? There are technologies like Angular, Vue, Next, Remix. Whether should you use a component library like Chakra, or should you use like something like Tailwind to build their website? It's pretty much confusing. But in this video, I'm going to boil down a simple roadmap that you can just pick up and follow to become a front-end developer in at least like 2023. And let's get started with that. The most important thing now in 2023 or like end of 2022, I have seen that people neglecting the fundamentals of web. So as a front-end developer, the job is to build for like web or desktop or whatever with web technologies, but it's a fundamental of web, right? Eventually everything boils down to run into a browser or some other environment. So understanding that environment is very important. So if I would start to become a front-end developer now, I would start with understanding the web first, right? I would start with understanding how does internet work. I would start with understanding how does browser work. I would start understanding like what is DNS, domain name, and hosting and stuff. This thing I have already discussed once in my channel. You can go to HTML playlist. The video should be coming out here, and this is the video where I have talked some basics of internet. So if you are building for internet, you should always understand the internet well, because that's the fundamental and that's where things run. So understanding the web is very important. So first thing is understand the web, understand how does internet work, how DNS work, what are domain name, what are hosting, and you can just check out that video that I linked, and you can just learn about that, or feel free to choose any other resources as well. Next thing is HTML. HTML is like structuring of the web, right? So just trying to understand, if you're building a home, what do you build first? Like you build the pillars and you just attach your bricks to build the walls, and you give a rooftop. That is a structure, and you can think that analogy as in the web as well. You can learn HTML, but what happens is when you give the structure, you need to style it, right? And you do that via CSS, right? So basically everybody start with HTML and CSS to build the structure and give some styling to that, right? So if you're building a house, you have to build the structure, right? So you're building a website, you need that structure, and that structure is given by HTML. So if you start with HTML, bare minimum, you should understand things like what are HTML tags. You should able to write semantic HTML, because as of like 2023, it's going a boom, and it's mandatory as well, right? You should understand the basic structuring, how to structure HTML tags to build simple looking ugly looking things, because CSS will do the magic later, but you should at least able to create the hierarchy and build a tree or something known as DOM and with HTML. So just trying out like printing a heading on the screen, or printing a paragraph on the string, or printing list of items in the screen, printing tables on the screen. You should be able to like provide links to the user where user can click using HTMLs. Tables are yet important, like displaying something on the table. It's again important part of HTML. List is again one other thing. So once you understand this basic along with the tags and what HTML plays a role in the browser that is structuring, you're good to move ahead with that. Then go ahead and start with CSS. Now what you have done is you're building a house, you have already structure, pillars and walls are ready. Now you want to design it and you want to paint it, right? And put a white cement and do some designing on the wall. So for that you need CSS. For if you're doing the same thing on the website, you need CSS, right? CSS allow you to style the website. CSS allow you to make the website look good. CSS allows you to, do some animations as well, do some transition as well. CSS allow you to bring responsiveness in your website. Like for example, somebody is viewing your website in your desktop, it would look something different, but if somebody is viewing that website in a mobile phone, it would look something different, like skin side differences. Like, so if you're starting with CSS, first thing I would say is like how to link a CSS into a HTML. And for example, there could be various ways, like inline, external, or providing something on the style tag, right? Next thing is just try to understand about selectors, like how we can put classes or IDs in a HTML element so that you can style that in CSS, right? And eventually, like one of the most important thing in CSS is box model. So everything you see in the screen is kind of a box where there will be certain properties like padding, margin, height, width. So you need to understand these things. Like for example, if you're learning CSS, I would just go ahead and make a a box kind of thing and just give different colors to it, and you'll be able to understand the box model, right? Positioning is important because there are various times where you want to position your element to a certain page of a website, and positioning is very important to that. Sizing is important. You want to give certain size to certain box and give certain size to certain box. Learning about responsiveness, like media queries or breakpoints in CSS would be very, very helpful to get started with that in CSS. One last thing I would say is when you are doing CSS is Flexbox and Grid. Flexbox and Grid have been a very great tool in CSS to learn, because it makes layouting very, very simple. So if anybody is building a website, they might be using Flexbox and Grid eventually. So now you have understood that HTML and CSS, what it does, it gives the structure and the styling. Many people will advise you to move to JavaScript and get started with JavaScript, but I would like to give you something else, right? Now if you have learned HTML and CSS, it's time to build projects, and this is the best thing you can do before moving to JavaScript, because now you have learned the concept, but how do you apply that, right? You need to apply that somewhere. So just pick up any website or any major website, like e-commerce or maybe movie, maybe streaming services, any website, and try to clone their UI, right? You're not able to act interaction, like if you click on the button, some functions execute, that you'll be not able to do, but you'll be at least able to create the layout, and you'll be at least able to bring that website in a responsive way, right? Somebody is seeing in the mobile, it should look different. Somebody is seeing in the big screen, it would look different. That will be able to do, right? Just make sure that you are able to lay out things properly, and give the coloring to it, give the foreground color to it, manage the size of the headings or paragraphs and etc., right? So if you're able to do this is great way. So I would suggest go ahead and build at least 2-3 layouts of a website that is responsive and great set of colors and look very good, at least. Like, although you will be not able to perform any action on that, because for that we'll talk about that, but you'll be able to see and scroll, and it's just a static website, it doesn't do anything. That you'll be able to do, right? So I would suggest start with building projects, have 2-3 templates, and do something with HTML, CSS, and then move on. Now what happens is, when you move to JavaScript, you can able to add interactivity in your website. But before that, I would able to give you a tip that learn about Git and GitHub, because Git is a version control tool. For example, if you're building a project and you want to share with someone, or for example you want to have versioning, like for your project. For example, you're building 3 pages website, so for 1 page there was a version, for 2 pages there was a version, for 3 pages there was a version. So if you're lost anywhere between 2 and 3, you can revert back to 2 and again get started. So this is how versioning system work. So I would suggest learn Git and GitHub, and whatever template you have built, just try to host it on just try to host it on GitHub or push to GitHub and store the code in GitHub. Explore few basic commands of Git, so that you will able to version control your project, and that is very, very important. Wherever you go, you'll at least find like projects are version control. So this will if you become a developer, it's not just about front-end development. If you become a developer, it's very important to understand version control. Now is the best time to start with JavaScript. JavaScript, what it does, it gives interactivity to your website. For example, in the HTML CSS section, you might have built a button, right? But you click on it, it does nothing. Now if you add JavaScript to your website, you can do some actions on the click of that particular button. This is what JavaScript does, right? And if you're learning JavaScript, I would suggest to start with the syntax and basic concept. In that you can learn about variables, about loops, about data types, about functions, right? These things you can learn. Then you can move ahead with DOM manipulation. This is one of the most important thing, because ultimately you have to manipulate the DOM in some way so that you can make your website interacting, right? DOM simply stand for document object model. Like the entire web page that you have built using HTML and CSS is kind of a tree, right? And that tree, we call it document object model, right? We'll understand it better in the later some video, but for now understand this, right? Once you have understand the DOM, what is the DOM and things like that, I would suggest just querying element from JavaScript to HTML. For example, if you have a class in HTML, how we can access that via JavaScript. So that is one more important thing. You can move ahead with learning ES6 version of JavaScript. That is highly famous version of JavaScript and widely adopted now. And then you can understand what is modular JavaScript. For example, you are building a very, very big project, but you have to divide that into very smaller parts, because you don't want to have everything in one place. You have to modularize that and eventually bring that at one place, right? So this gives a good developer experience as well, right? And optimization can be also done here. So modular JavaScript. There are other concepts like hosting, event bubbling, scope, prototyping, shadow DOM, strict mode, and in advanced JavaScript, you can learn about asynchronous JavaScript, closure, object-oriented programming in JavaScript. So if you have done these things, I guess it would be great thing to do in JavaScript, and you will be able to see you as a great JavaScript developer. By now you have already learned HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So what next, right? What next? But the thing is, again, you had your projects, dummy projects beforehand that were not interactive. Now I would say bring that project again and add interactivity in that particular same project using JavaScript. So you'll get understanding what HTML does, what CSS did, and what JavaScript will do in this project, right? So in simple words, add JavaScript to the project you built before while learning HTML and CSS. Projects are very important, and don't skip it before moving forward, because eventually this is what you are gonna do when you get a job, or this is what we are gonna do whatever your plans are for building, doing freelancing or building your own product. So ultimately you build project using learning these languages, right? Now you have a great set of understanding and you can build good website, right? But the thing is, right now in 2022, there are a lot of tools that have come in that can make your development even more easier, right? Not writing a lot of code and writing less code and doing more thing. So more thing that people have came up with is Sass. Sass is a CSS framework that allows you to write a mixing kind of function to use it again in your code base. It can give you a lot of functionality, extra functionality than normal CSS. So Sass is a great contender, but you can skip it if you want. But if you wanna see Sass, go to this website. I will link that in the description as well, and see what function it provides. If it is suitable, if you're liking it, go ahead and learn it. But when you talk about CSS in at least 2022, 2023, 2021, one thing definitely that would come to mind is Tailwind CSS. Tailwind CSS is utility for CSS framework, and it makes writing CSS so easy that in the recent time, if you have visited some website, it will have very, very clean looking UI, and lot of website chose CSS for that, like Tailwind CSS for that, and still a lot of people still choosing CSS and building their website because it makes things very, very simple, right? So I would suggest, like, choose Tailwind, of course, like, and now what you have to do is, again, you have to loop back to the same project you're building, remove all the CSS that you have written, add Tailwind CSS to that. You'll understand like how, CSS worked and how Tailwind CSS can improve that. So this is how you learn, right? Now come the important part, how much JavaScript you will write, how much DOM manipulation you will handle by yourself. This is a time when, frameworks come in. Frameworks just make something easier, right? Somebody came up with frameworks and write something at high level, and it can abstract your development, right? Front-end frameworks are like, like React, Angular, Vue, Self, but you can choose any of this, right? But if you're a beginner, there are a lot of factors for choosing like frameworks, but if you're a beginner, I would suggest to go with React because of the following reason. First one, easy to learn and quick to learn. Second one, great community support. Third one, lots of job available in React in the current market, right? And many more. There are many more. So if you're getting started with React, I would suggest, learn about components, learn about state, what props are, how to build a custom hook, what hooks are, learn about, styling React app using Tailwind or, basic CSS or style components or anything. Learn to make API calls. This is very important because ultimately if you have a website, React app, you'll have to make API calls somewhere and bring some data, right? Learn to make API calls. And testing is important because if you're building something, testing is really important. You can check out React testing library or any other library as well, right? But if you're learning React, you can go to this website beta.reactjs.org. This is a new documentation for React.js, and it makes things very, very simple to you to learn things, right? It has great tutorial docs where you can get started with learning React. Now people start with projects. Now what you can do is you can go back to the same project that we are building and add React to that, and you'll see how much less code you're writing and how much you are abstracting. And it's very simple to declare a function, use that in your component, and not rewriting everything, right? You can modularize, declare everything in your component, bring at one place, and it works, right? So React comes there. So make sure that you pick React again and add that to the same project. So this is why choosing project is important at the start. Choose something that can add value, that can add everything to it, be it like, a front end, making API calls or interactivity and everything, right? Now the thing is, at this point you can build a website. At this point you can build great websites, but the thing is, people tend to choose something that will like, ease their development workflow. And one of them, JavaScript is a loosely typed language. So, once the project grows and grows and grows, there are chances of error you can make where, there will be type differences and it will run into runtime errors. So for that moment, I would suggest to learn TypeScript. And again, once you learn TypeScript, it's just a simple, if you know JavaScript, you just added on JavaScript with some types, and you can type check your website and avoid some error at compile time, or compile time or in your VS Code itself, right? So with that, like, just take that TypeScript and replace your website with TypeScript. Wherever you're writing components with JavaScript, just introduce TypeScript there. You'll understand how it evolves and make things easier and bug free, and you'll typically understand the benefits of TypeScript there. So right now you are a front-end developer, but there are a few things that still needs to be looked forward. Till now we have seen a lot of things and how we can incrementally learn and apply that to your project, right? And this way I'll definitely guarantee you'll learn in a better way because you're applying that to a project, right? Now you are a front-end developer, you are building something, but the thing is, how we can show that to the world? You have to deploy it somewhere, right? So as a front-end developer, you should always understand to deploy your website. There are various free service available and there are various paid service available, but they give a freemium plan as well for your side projects or your small project that can eventually lead and grow a very big project, right? So there are a couple of websites like Netlify and GitHub Pages are a famous one, which I have tried and still host there my website. So you can just It's very simple. Just go ahead and learn about it. I'll link the description, the documentation link in the description, that you can check out and see how easy it to host a front-end website and get that website somewhere, right? And people can see that website, right? And you'll get a link as well that you can send across, and people will be able to see that, right? So that is one thing. Now the thing is, you have built that front end and you're able to deploy it. Now you can surely call you as a front end developer. Now I will tell you something that nobody tells you, right? And the thing is, you will never know 100% of the thing. You will always understand few pieces, fundamentals, and you will always have to Google or Stack Overflow, now GPT-3 as well, to understand things that is coming on your way when you're developing products or projects. So just learn this fundamental basics, that is bare minimum required things, or good things to learn, and eventually whatever outside of this what we have talked could be included, right? For example, if you're looking for a UI library, you can choose Chakra or maybe Design or Material for the UI library, right? That can be done, but that can be done in the extended way when you are developing some projects and feel the need of a component library. You don't need to learn explicitly that to become a front-end developer. You can learn even the go. Just learn the fundamentals, understand what exactly how things behave, and then choose anything, right? Going forward, you will be see a lot of tools like Webpack or Babel or Vite or anything else, right? But the thing is, eventually every fundamental you have done will be applied here. It's just the additional tool. You just go to their documentation, read their documentation, bring that tool and use it, right? It's that simple basically. You don't need to learn entirety of everything and know everything, right? This is how work happens in the companies as well. People don't know entire thing. Just start with the project, know the basic fundamentals, what is required, what is not required. Start with that. If anything is required, Google them and get the answers, bring that and follow the project. It's that simple, right? If I stuck somewhere, Google, Stack Overflow, as talk about GPT-3 is already here, right? Now you can build front-end projects, but now we are in the time where you can build full stack project with JavaScript, right? There are a lot of hype around month stack or min stack that would be able to give you a full stack project. But now if you have learned React, I would heavily suggest you to start with Next.js or Remix, which gives you ability to build full stack project with React.js. They are just meta framework, and they give ability to build the full stack project using React. You can learn any DB or ORM and just learn Next.js or Remix, and you can write full stack apps now. A lot of people are choosing this stack because it's very simple, and as a front-end developer, and incrementally when you're learning, this is a very good part to go with that, right? Just again, as simple as that, learn Next.js or learn Remix and apply the same thing, that project you are building along that. Make sure that you choose that project that you're choosing and starting giving some scenarios, like it can have interactivity or it can have some storage in the DB, so that you can incrementally improve that, and eventually once you learn every technology, you can apply this thing to that project, right? So again, you're a front-end developer now if you have learned these technologies well, and you have to build something and show to the world, just deploy it somewhere and set the link. If you're planning to learn front-end development, just comment down in the section what you are planning to build after learning front-end development. And if you have gained any value with this video and building something, tag me somewhere, or just shoot a DM to me that it really helped, and it just motivates to create more video. And we are just near to 3,000 subscribers, so just subscribe to this channel, and if you have added any value to you by this video, just make sure that subscribe to the channel, share this video, and I'll see you next time. Till then, take care.